Okay, welcome back. We're working on pedigrees some more, and what they have in this case is a human pedigree, four-generation family, and they're looking at whether they have straight or curly hair. These are people with straight hair, apparently, and there are only a few in the whole family. There's a few unusual pieces of notation in this chart that I'll just point out before we go on. Horizontal lines like this indicate a cosanguineous marriage, which means a marriage between two people who are from the same family. I never understood why they need that on a pedigree chart because you can see on a pedigree anyway that these people have the same grandparents, which makes them, let's see, cousins. But you can tell exactly how closely they're related and through who from the pedigree, so flagging this just seems superfluous to me. This is one of the few contexts where you could pick that out without any extra hinting from the chart. And another thing we're seeing here is this branch, which means identical twins, or what they call, I think it's monozygotic twins, meaning they came from the same fertilized egg. So these two are identical. Whatever their genotypes are, they better match. So once we figure out the genotype for one, we'll just copy it to the other. But that doesn't change the way any of our rules for pedigrees work, so let's see what we can do with this. Their question here brings up something that you may have noticed already, that they don't mention whether straight hair is a dominant or a recessive trait. And so we get to figure that out on our own. And it's okay if we don't know which one it is, because generally you can test this with your Punnett and your pedigree chart and figure out the dominance or recessiveness of a trait. Let's take an example up here. Let's say if straight hair is dominant. Dominant. I don't want to use S's because it's a little tricky telling the capitals from the lowercase, so I'm going to use H for hair. We'll say big H is for straight, and little h is for curly or wavy. Let's see if we can get through this pedigree working with that assumption, and if we can, then maybe we're right and straight hair is dominant. So if we have this, the two grandparents both have curly hair apparently. So they're not affected by the straight traits. So that would mean they're both curly hair, and that means they're little h, little h. Grandma is little h, and then their daughter here is big H something. I don't know what the second allele is. And the same with their other daughter, big H something. See the problem? We we slammed into a wall right away here. These two kids have to have the allele for straight hair, but where did they get it from? Neither of their parents has it. This kind of arrangement is what it looks like when your first assumption is wrong. We said, we'll assume straight hair is dominant. Well, that quickly turned into nonsense. We're like, okay, well, this can't be right then. We followed all the rules correctly. The only thing that could be the problem here is that our assumption that straight hair is dominant is no good. So, apparently, straight hair is recessive. Sometimes you get a couple lines down the pedigree chart before you finally run into a crash and say, wait, this can't be, and then you have to backtrack and start over. But here, happily, we ran into trouble right away, and that tells us that no, straight hair is not dominant. Apparently, straight hair is recessive. So it's actually big H is curly and little h is straight. Or at least I hope this one works. If neither of them works, we got big trouble. But let's see what happens if we make straight hair recessive instead. So these two people have straight hair. They are little h, little h. And the twins are little h, little h. And this guy is little h, and so is she. All right. Everybody else has a big H because they have curly hair or wavy hair, non-straight hair. Big family, lots of individuals. So I guess we've answered question A already. It's straight hair has to be a recessive trait because we tried the other way and it immediately caused contradictions. Okay, so this is what we know about everybody's genotypes. So it's a family with lots and lots of wavy hair and just a few people with straight hair. How many more things can we fill in? I'll switch colors here from what we see on the chart. She has little h, which means one of these came from each of her parents. So apparently he's heterozygous, and so is so is great grandma. Who else can we get? She has little h, which means all of her eggs contain little h's. All of her kids will get little h from her. So there. And that also happens with the other sister. She passes on little h's to both of her kids. Fine. Here we see that, notice how I'm often gravitating to the homozygous people because they're easier to work with. I'm getting a lot of information off of the little h's because that tells you something about their parents, and it tells you something about their kids, that they're going to get one of those little h's. So I tend to go for those first, and I encourage you to try that too. This guy got one of these from each of his parents, which we knew already, and will pass on one of those h's to each of his kids. His daughter got one, and his son will get one also, so we can put a little h there. What else can we do? Oh, sorry, just a missing line here that's going to bug me. That is an H. There we go. I'm not sure we can fill this in. This big H could have come from either of the parents, and both parents have big H and little h, so we could do probabilities for this one, but not much more than that. This is interesting. The recessive again. Two little h's. One came from dad, which is not surprising. The other one had to come from mom, so she must have a little h there. The twins got two little h's, one from dad, the other one had to come from mom. And then one of the twins married this guy, and they had a son. She has two little h's, so guaranteed all of her kids get one of those. And because this, well, we knew that he had a big H because he has curly hair. We don't know if he has two big H's or not, so we can't do much more with this. If he has more kids, we could figure it out, or if we knew something about his parents, we could figure out more there. Same in this case. Now, I want to say, I'm going to switch colors for this. She contributes little h to all of her kids, and so we're not surprised to see h's there. The fact that they've had four children, I was not her, but the fact that this couple here, individuals 2-1 and 2-2, have had 4 children and all of them got big H, makes it pretty likely that this guy is big H, big H. If he were heterozygous, you'd expect half his kids to get the recessive H from him, and then you'd see some straight-haired kids in their family. The fact that that has not happened yet makes this pretty likely, but am I sure? No. I mean, you can flip a coin 4 times in a row and get heads. That doesn't mean the coin is rigged. It just means you're having some crazy luck, and that could be the case here. So if this were like 100 kids, that would be one thing. If it's 4, that makes this likely but not guaranteed. Here we can't really do anything else. Again, they've had two kids who both got big H from him, that's not enough to draw a strong conclusion. And we know almost nothing about this fellow. I think we've done everything we can. So identify the genotypes of each individual. Done. Which genotypes can you not be certain of? I would say we got individual 2, 1, so generation 2, individual 1, and generation 2, individual 5. And 4, 1, and 4, 6. Oh, and sorry. No, we did get, I was going to say 5, 1, but we did get that one. Okay, and the last thing they bring up, if individual 5, 3, which is this young lady with who's heterozygous we found. I'm just going to put her over here so we can talk about her. Big H, little h. Marries a man who is heterozygous, so just like her. Putting her on the left implies that she's older, which doesn't matter 99% of the time. What is the probability they will have a girl with straight hair? Okay, well, we can do a Punnett Square for these pretty easily. And it's her eggs contain either big H or little h, and his sperm contain big H or little h, so they will produce. Those are the 4 possible kids they could have. So what is the probability they'll have a girl with straight hair? Well, straight hair only happens from little h, meaning this. So they're asking for 2 things here. First, they want a girl. Second, they want her to have straight hair. Girls are half of all babies, and their chance of getting straight hair is 1 out of 4, according to our Punnett Square. Okay, so girl with straight hair means you have to find probability of a girl, easy enough, times probability of the straight hair, and you multiply those. When you multiply fractions, you do top times top, so 1 times 1 is 1, and bottom times bottom, 2 times 4 is 8. So straight-haired girls will happen 1/8 of the time.